This year in Hypixel Skyblock, a few things happened, and in this video I'll be covering most of them. Quick disclaimer, I will only be talking about the updates that I thought were important. And if you want to, please tell me your best and worst update of the year in the comments. We started the year with the stranded update being tested on alpha, with a bunch of new features. The armadillo pet was heavily nerfed to consume energy when moving in any direction. You also need to hold the proper tool to break gemstones on an armadillo now. Skyblock Stranded was finally added to the main server. Most of the basic enchants were buffed to increase your damage, but One for All was nerfed, from multiplicative to additive damage. They also doubled the drop rate of Chimera books from the Inquisitor. The Golden Dragon's perk was buffed from 0.2% to 0.25%. The Scatha pet was finally upgradable, and its drop chance was increased. The Baby Yeti pet was nerfed. The Epic Yeti was nerfed by 50%, and the Leg Yeti was nerfed by 25%. The price of gemstones and netherwort was reduced by 1 coin. Maxor armor was buffed for archers. The katanas were buffed and the endstone sword was nerfed. Not a lot happened at this time, but they added an entity limit to your private island. On March 1st, Master Mode 7 was finally released and Floor 7 was changed. That caused some people to quit Hypixel. But they also made it possible to know your secrets so far in the dungeon run. They disabled the archer's double shot ability for blaze puzzles. They also added new cosmetic dyes and cosmetic levels above Kata 50. They made it easier to see if the dragon is close to the statue in M7. They removed the Dark Claymore's mining fatigue and increased the XP reward from M7. They made the healing bow unusable outside of dungeons, and we probably know why. They changed the treasure chests. They started giving loot normally instead of opening up a GUI, which probably prevented a bunch of dupes. They finally released the Crimson Isles, with new mechanics, mobs, factions, and a bunch of more things. The reception was mixed from the community. They fixed a bunch of bugs, including pet stacking using Blaze Pet. Mining fortune was made to work on blocks like cobblestone, gravel, glowstone, and obsidian. Telekinesis was finally removed and replaced with auto pickup at Combat 6. Rusty was rebranded as the Lost and Found guy, or the free museum levels guy. They also added a 20-second grace period before bin items can be bought. From this point onwards, I started making Skyblock news videos, so I'll be using my upload highlights.
Another item they have added is the radioactive vial from the sea creature Lord Jabus. This item can be used to upgrade the flying fish to mythic, and it seems to change the color and stats of the flying fish. The new mythic pet is optimized for lava fishing and also buffs Magma Lord armor. Also, how could we forget the Hypixel hacking situation? It seems the hacker was the same person who DDoSed Hypixel a few months ago. But it may also have been an impersonator. But basically he hacked Hypixel, made like $20 and nothing really changed, apart from mildly inconveniencing players. Inferno got nerfed to only proc the 1.25x multiplier once, instead of multiple times. Crimson armor now no longer gives infinite attack speed, but it is still good as a cheap burst armor set. Also, terror armor arrows are now less buggy. You can't auction damaged Piconimbus's now, so no more scams. Also, now you don't get into combat from fire, fall or suffocation damage. They also fixed the melon and pumpkin minions. Basically, melon and pumpkin minions would not perform their tasks correctly, meaning you would leave a melon minion for hours and it would produce like 2 melons. Hypixel has fixed it, so the production should be accurate now. They also fixed the crash with Thunderlord and the Gauntlet of Contagion. The admins added a new NPC called the Security Sloth, which basically teaches players about how they can stay safe when playing Skyblock. Before, you could charge a Thunder bottle in 2 to 3 minutes using Guardians in Floor 3, but now it takes almost an hour to charge a single bottle. If you can consistently fish the Thunder sea creature, that is. Some collector items like cake souls and spooky pies are now co-op soulbound. The admins have stated that It is to combat IRL traders. But there's a mixed reception to say the least. Your private island now has a 500 chest limit. But the annoying thing about it is, your minion storages count as well, which could be really annoying for some people who want to switch out their minions. There was a massive dupe that almost destroyed the economy again. And in response to that, the admins shut down the bazaar and the AH. They also decided to destroy some chests and move the items into your island stash. Items like wither goggles didn't have kata requirements for a few months, but the requirement has been re-added, severely nerfing the damage for some players. Melody's hair now no longer gives you magical power, if you haven't done the quest. The Juju shortbow's ability was fixed, and now it will hit 3 mobs as intended. Also, teleportation using AOTE, AOTV and Hyperion is kinda buggy now. The bazaar was disabled, cause this guy couldn't help but manipulate the market and completely screw with everyone. Unrelated to this guy, there have been some massive dupes recently, so the bank, bazaar and auction house have been disabled. The epic and legendary wisp pets got nerfed. Before you could use the third perk at full potential at level 1, but now you need level 100 to use it at full potential. Ferocity has been capped to 500, so a sad day for the ferromana abusers. Also, the auction house was disabled, enabled and disabled again in a span of a few hours. But we don't know what really caused it though. The just limit has been increased from 500 to 1000. So finally some good updates, unless it causes a dupe. They fixed the bug where you could clip through walls with a horse pet. Also, the auction house limit has been changed from Java integer limit to 10 billion. Odger's tooth was finally fixed and it doesn't stack now. Now you only need 10 Inferno minions to reach the max buff. They have increased the drop rate for unique hypergolic items by 10%. And you will now get 1 hypergolic ionized ceramic if you use hypergolic gabagool. If you use hypergolic gabagool, you can also gain chili peppers, which can then be used to craft a few items. The last news for this week is that Doctor, a well-known admin, has quit Hypixel. Here's his tweet. I've had a blast for the past 6 years working at Hypixel, but I feel like it's time for me to move on to something different. Lots of love for the team and the players. Thanks for everything. He's working at Amazon now, so congratulations to him. The time in the Wizard NPC's dialogue has been decreasing from 2 to 3 business days to 1 to 2, and now it's 24 business hours. So from what we know, the admins are actually serious about bringing the Wizard portal update. The admins posted a few design changes that will be added to Skyblock in preparation for the 1.0 update. First of all, it's the RNG meter, which was recently added. Next, they talked about adding new combat masteries. They have said that they will be adding 3 masteries in combat. And there will be schools where you can upgrade your skills, like Heart of the Mountain. And yes, you'll be able to switch between them. And not only that, you'll have subcategories, like Combat Healer or Ninja. They fixed the Midas Staff. Before, the Midas Staff would do more damage compared to Hype outside of dungeons, but less damage inside of dungeons, as it wasn't scaling properly. But now it's been patched, and does a lot more damage. Just after the X update was added, the game was literally unplayable, as there were a lot of issues. First, mage damage was nerfed into the void. Then they capped speed to 300 inside dungeons. Then gave a small buff to everyone's stats. Then dungeons was completely bugged and unplayable. A few of the bugs were, if you warped to the lobby after you die, you'd get wiped. If you warped out and back in, you'd get wiped. So dungeons was disabled. Then they added a queuing system, and after attempting some fixes, dungeons was disabled again. Classic Hypixel. You can no longer place pet skins on your private island while applying them, so L to Indigo Polecat. They also completely butchered necromancy, and you can no longer abuse souls like before. Last week, necromancy was destroyed by the admins, but now it's been revived-ish. Your mobs will now take increased damage the longer they are summoned, meaning you can no longer abuse admin souls. Also, Voidlooms have a new feature, where every time the hits phase is over, the necromancy souls get despawned. They have converted the spirit bow into a short bow, meaning instead of having SC nons with a 20 million coin bow, we'll now have adaptive nons with a 4 million coin bow. They have added a new type of fishing, called chum fishing, or chumming to be exact. All you have to do is go to the mushroom desert and you'll find the chumming NPC. Did you know that the chumming NPC is a reference to Moby Dick? So how it works is, you place a chum bucket beside you and start fishing. With a regular rod, you get chums from sea creatures. But if you have a chum rod, you get chums from anything. 10 chums fill up a bucket, which can then be traded in for some stuff. Master Tao's test of control has finally been enabled, which makes getting black belts much easier.
While I was editing the video, the admins deleted trillions of coins from the economy. They made perfect and flawless gemstones unstackable, so if you have a stack of these gemstones you will lose 63 of them.
The minions presumably now have a cap. If you have a habit of collecting minions daily, this won't affect you, but this may affect people who rarely collect their minions. It was added as some players couldn't play Skyblock, as the offline resource calculation from minions was bugging out. As you guys know, there was a massive gemstone wipe last week. The admins have addressed it and have said that they will be refunding your gemstones. There's a new NPC above the community center called the Lost Adventurer. And the final news for this week is that the gabagool recipes have been changed and will now be a lot cheaper to craft. Dungeon chests will now be saved. Up to 60 runs will be saved, and you have 48 hours before a chest expires. Maxing out an infernal armor piece is now much easier, as the number of heavy pearls required has been dropped from 127 to 52, which is huge. A lot of mid-game items have either been nerfed or are now harder to obtain. That includes the Livid Dagger that has lost around 32% DPS. The Juju Shortbow now requires Enderman level 5. The Flower of Truth now requires floor 6 completion, which will hurt a lot of players. The only buff for mid-game is that the Shadow Fury has been massively buffed. Skyblock levels are now on the main server, which can be gained by progressing through the game. Levels help you unlock various features like the Bazaar, the Wardrobe, and a lot more things. Fairy Souls will now no longer give you actual stat buffs, but will now give you Skyblock XP. They are also necessary for your backpack slots. Out of everything Hypixel should have buffed, they buffed mining. You can now gain 2 extra tokens of the mountain, which is a massive buff to mining. Bingo will now actually have a progression. Depending on your bingo rank, you'll have different buffs, like a Maddox bat phone, or a grappling hook, or a personal compactor. There was also a massive spooky event. There were also a lot of things like the Draconic Altar, Draconic Shop, and a lot more new items. There's also a new Zealot farming area. The health of mobs in the Crimson Isles has been reduced by a lot, and the Kudra boss fight has been changed completely. They fixed being able to dungeonize items to remove their other requirements. They also fixed the Emerald Blade, which now caps at 2 billion instead of 2 million. A very well-known YouTuber, Average Sweat, has been banned for cheating in dungeons. He responded to it in his latest video. I'll probably throw it in the description somewhere. Some people may call it a harsh punishment, but this is not the first time he's been bonked by the ban hammer. Also, considering the number of people that consume his content, I think the ban was justified. Look, I'm not saying
Screw this guy, he should burn in Ohio.
I genuinely hope he can bounce back from this situation. That's all for today. See ya. Arachne's health and damage has been greatly reduced. It also drops more loot, including Spider Essence, which you can then use in the new Spider Essence shop. The Terminator crafting recipe has finally been fixed. Before it was, and as you can see, we have a problem. You need 3 stacked null blades, which can't really stack normally, so we needed to use the quick craft option, but players without ranks don't have access to this feature, making them unable to craft the Terminator. But it has been fixed,
as the recipe has been changed. We've got a new farming mayor which is really nice and could bring new content in the game, especially the second perk. Muted players could still talk to other players via signs, but now this has been disabled. Slayers are no longer tradable. Each mob you kill at maximum will now give half the XP required to spawn the boss. Hypixel recently released the holiday event by massively buffing the Jerry Island and finally opening the ice caves. Here are a few things they added. They have added 2 new sea creatures. The Nutcracker, it drops 2 red gifts, and a walnut. The walnut can be used to upgrade the snowsuit armor to the Nutcracker armor, which massively buffs the number of gifts you can get from the eruption event. There's also a new dragon sea creature. Now how much health do you think it has? 2500. But there's a catch. Each hit does 1 damage. There's a new mining area, the Glacial Cave, where you can obtain treasures lodged in ice, which include gifts, ice baits, glacial fragments, and a new talisman. We also have a new currency, North Stars. You get them by either receiving or giving gifts. From what I can tell, you get 1 from white gifts and up to 3 from green gifts. Probably the same from red. You can use it to buy new talismans, equipments, minion upgrades, and a new pet, the reindeer. We also have a new ice essence shop. You guys know how toxic frozen scythe and explosive bow users can be, right? Well, the admins have decided to combine both of these items for double the toxicity. Introducing the glacial scythe that pierces your enemy and explodes when it hits the ground. The new extreme bingo is here, and as the admins had previously stated, it gives double the points and lasts for 14 days. There are also new bingo exclusive items that you get for completing individual goals. The Bingo Nimbus for 4 goals, the Bingo Liber for 8 goals, the Bingo Combat Talisman for 12 goals, and the Bingo Lava Rod for 16 goals. Infernal Kudra is here on the main server. I've already made a video on this, but here are the key points. There are 4 new attributes: Warrior, that is useless, Deadeye, that is useless, Fortitude, that is useless, and Magic Find, which is kinda nice. Infernal Kudra has a new phase, with a few new mechanics like being final killed by Kudra or Chaos Mites, where you cannot revive yourself but your teammates can. Now for some actually good updates. Higher tier Kudra will now give more Kudra teeth. You can gain 2 from T3 and T4 and 3 from T5. The other good update is the Kudra Party Finder. You can find a new Kudra collection next to your other dungeon collections that give a ton of rewards, like Kudra Teeth, Crimson Essence, Kudra Pets, and Kudra Pet Upgrade Stones. Yes, you can now upgrade Kudra Pets using stones. Higher tiers give more collection. Basic tier gives 1 collection while Infernal gives 5 collections. The Wither Cloak has been nerfed to the ground. It now has a 10-second cooldown. It was 20 on alpha. There is also a weird quirk with it, where if you let it run out completely, the cooldown is 10 seconds. But if you disable it quickly, the cooldown is 5 seconds. There was a bug where you could use XP bottles to gain Skyblock XP. Throw a colossal XP bottle and you are level 10,000. I don't know how this happened, but it led to some funny moments. It's been patched though. Another admin, Jacob Ruby, has left the server. He says he needs to focus on school, so best of luck to him. The gifts will drop North Stars even after December is over, but the accessories cannot be bought on another month, so you should get them now. Before, Iron Man players could only give gifts to others, but now they can receive them as well, from co-op members only though. The alpha server was open to test the garden update, and the servers can actually handle it, so the update may come out on early 2023 after all. To the 2 people who watched up to this point, thank you. If you watched the video, this video, thank you for not responding. Like this, click the button, support the channel, the channel member, maybe join the Discord, and don't forget to leave a comment as I read all comments.